Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Class 8th, I once again welcome you all for the chemistry online class. I hope all of you are keeping well and following the protocol or following the precautions for protecting yourself and your family from COVID-19. Let's begin with the first lesson, matter. Now, you all must be acquainted with this term matter since you have started studying science from class 6th, right? You have so many things around you. You come across in your everyday life, which can be in the form of solid, liquid, or in the form of gas, isn't it? So, which can be in the form of solid, like it can be paper, book, chair, various type of clothes that you wear, or the articles that you are using for writing or for playing. Everything is in the form of solid. Or you must be coming across various types of things which you are taking in the form of beverages like tea, coffee, or even water that you are taking. You can see the state in which it is. Or the gases, which you cannot of course see, but you can definitely feel their presence around you. So what is common for these? That is, they all have mass and they occupy space, isn't it? Whether you have the solid, you have a piece of chalk in your hand or a box in your hand, you can feel that mass, or you keep somewhere, it occupies some space, that is, it occupies some volume. Or liquids, that is, if it is kept in a bottle or it is kept in jug, you can feel that it is also occupying space, and you can feel that weight also when you hold that particular bottle or jug. Similarly with the gas, that you inflate a balloon, you can easily feel that there is something inside the balloon, and that is occupying the space, and once you deflate it, then how it changes its shape. So this is the common property for all the substances, of all the things that you come across in your everyday life. That is, they all have mass and they occupy space. This is matter. Is that clear? All these things are included under matter. So what is matter? So anything that has mass and it occupies space, it is called as matter. Is that clear? And when we say that something is occupying space, that means it has a particular volume. Is that clear? It is occupying a volume. For example, air is considered a matter because it is made of different gases which have both mass and volume, which we will discuss in this chapter. So what is air? We all know in terms of geography what is air. It is a mixture of gases, isn't it? Of course we cannot feel it, but definitely we cannot see it, but definitely we can feel it. And how can we prove it? If we see an inflated balloon, what do? How has it become inflated? What is present inside it? And what comes out, or what squeezes out of it once we deflate it? Exactly, that means it is having a particular space that it is occupying inside the balloon. This air that has been filled up in that balloon is occupying space or particular volume inside the balloon. That is why it has become inflated, or it has become of the size that we see in, isn't it? So you can see these are inflated balloon. There is air inside them, isn't it? So there is air inside them. That is why they have become of this particular size, and once you deflate it, then they change the side. All the air that is present inside them, it comes out. So we can feel that mass. When we have a whole bunch of balloons, then we can feel that there is something in our hand. Although that is not, if there are not many balloons, we cannot feel a lot of weight, but then too we can feel that we have a particular thing in our hand. We can feel that mass. And similarly, when we switch on the fan, what do we see? We see the moving air. That is why we feel that air and we feel that cooling effect. Is that clear? If it is very hot, we can feel that hot air around us, like nowadays that we feel. If our particularly the people who are staying on the top floor, or the walls of their room are exposed to the sunlight, but you can feel that air, the coolness of the air or the heat of the air, you can easily feel. So what do the blades of the fan do? They move the air. Means there is air around us which is occupying space and has particular volume. Is that clear? It has mass and volume both. So what is another important property? That is, I have told you both of them, and we can even give you one more example. That is, when there is a storm at home, or you have experienced them at home also, or when you are out of your houses, you are scared that just because of the resistance or the force that particular air has, that is why it is called a storm. That when the air is flowing when the wind is flowing with a lot of velocity. So this you can see the state of the trees. You can see how they are changing their the direction of all the leaves and the branches. Everything has changed in the direction of the flow of the wind current. That means it is the resistance that the strong winds are posing towards the tree or all the objects which are falling in its way. So we can say that during a storm we experience resistance which is offered by air. Resistance means something which resists us, stops us. Is that clear? So it has such a lot of force that we feel that around us when it is blowing with a lot of velocity, with a high speed. Similarly, the people who know how to swim, they also feel that the water also offers resistance, or you can feel that around you. Once you are inside water, you have to push water outwards or inwards according to the need, isn't it? So we can say that all the things that are around us, they have space, that is, they have volume and they have mass. Is that clear? Or in simple words, we can say anything that has mass and that occupies space is called matter. Is it clear? So anything that has mass and that occupies space is called matter, and we can perceive it by our senses. We can easily feel that this particular state is having a mass which is less, or it is having a great mass, or it is occupying a greater volume or space. We can easily perceive, we can easily feel it, we can easily see it. Is that clear? Taste it, or whatever the needed. The senses are the 5 senses of sight, hearing, vision, that is the sight through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue or skin. We can easily perceive them by our senses. Is that clear? So what is this matter made of? The different forms or the different things that you come across in your daily life is matter. So what is it made up of? It is made up of very small particles called atoms. Is it clear? So in simple words, we can say that all matter is made up of atoms. An atom is the smallest unit of an element that still maintains the characteristic of that element. If we suppose we have a piece of chalk and we break it, the smallest speck of chalk, a very small piece of the chalk, will maintain the identity of chalk. Is that clear? Or we have water, whether we are taking it in the form of a big tank or whether we are taking it in the form of a small glass, it will still be having the same properties. That is, each and every atom. Water is a compound definitely, but I am just saying that it is a type of it is a state of matter only. But when we say that each and every particle, each and every atom maintains the characteristic of that element, which we will study later on. What are elements? So the smallest particle that exhibits all the properties of matter and does not have an independent existence is called an atom. Is that clear? We will study in detail about the different atoms. For example, hydrogen, oxygen. If oxygen, hydrogen. So if it is oxygen, which is a gas, definitely, and it is made up of 2 atoms of hydrogen. But when we say oxygen as an element, then each and every atom of oxygen will have the same characteristic properties. Is that clear? So, since atoms cannot exist independently, 2 or more atoms join together and form molecules. Is that clear? So, atoms do not have independent existence. They cannot stay alone. They stay in combination. Is that clear? They stay in pairs of 2 or even more than 2. They join together and form molecules. So what are molecules? So the smallest particle of matter that exhibits all the properties of matter and has an independent existence is called a molecule. So the smallest particle that exhibits all the properties of matter and does not have an independent existence is called an atom, while the smallest particle of matter that exhibits all the properties of matter and has an independent existence, that it can exist on its own. You have not heard about oxygen existing on its own. It will always be in twos, 1, 2. Similarly, this carbon and hydrogen, you don't see them in the form of carbon and hydrogen. They will always be in the form of some compound, which can be a carbon compound. For example, here it is methane molecule, which is CH4. Similarly, for other molecules also, that means atoms combine together to form molecules. Is that clear? So both atoms and molecules are very small and they cannot be seen even by an ordinary microscope. They are very small. So we cannot see them even by an ordinary microscope. So in simple words, we can say that atoms join together to form molecule, and these molecules form matter. Is that clear? Molecules of different types, they form matter. So next in this chapter we have the kinetic theory of matter. So the kinetic theory of matter states that every substance, that is matter, whether it is in the form of a solid, liquid or a gas, is made up of tiny particles. So these tiny particles, you can see solids are also made up of tiny particles, which you can see in the form of green circles, and here also you can see in the form of different color circle, and here you can see them in the form of different circles in solid, liquid and gas. Is that clear? So these particles may be atoms or molecules. So what are the main postulates of the kinetic theory of matter? That is, matter is made up of very, very small particles called atoms or molecules. I have just told you that matter is made up of very, very small particles called atoms or molecules. Is it clear? And the constituent particles of a particular matter are identical in all respects. For example, if we take a piece of chalk, or we take a piece of wood, or we take you can say a little bit of salt, or you can take a little bit of water, all the particles of a particular state of matter are identical in all respects. Is that clear? You take a drop of water or a tank full of water, all the particles will have the same properties, whether it is in the form of a drop of water or it is a full tank of water, or you take a piece of chalk, chalk stick, or just a bit of it, it will be having the same properties. They will be identical in all respects, mean similar in all respect. Is that clear? Then particle or matter have space between them. You can see that here in the form of solid, they have particular space, although the space is very less The space that is present here, it is comparatively more in the case of liquids, but in the gases it is the maximum. There is a lot of space that is present in between the particles of gas. So this is called as intermolecular space or voids. Is that clear? Intermolecular space or void, the space that is present between the different particles. Similarly, these particles, whether they are present in the solid, liquid and gas, what do they have? How do they keep that particular form in which they are? Just because they have a force of attraction between them, something which is keeping them together. That is something which is keeping them in the form in which they are existing, whether it is solid, liquid or gas. This is called as interparticle or intermolecular force of attraction. Is it clear? So the particles of matter attract one another with a force called interparticle or intermolecular force of attraction. So you have in the, whether there are 100 or million of particles, whether it is solid, liquid or gas, there is a force which is attracting them or keeping them together. This is known as intermolecular or interparticle force of attraction. So the intermolecular force of attraction decreases with the increase in the distance. If the distance is more, definitely you can see them in the case of a gas, which we will discuss in detail afterwards. So you can see there is more distance over here. In gases there is more distance. So what is there that you can see? The force of attraction will be less in between the particles. Is that clear? Similarly, in liquids it will be a little more than gas, and in the solids it will be the most, it will be the maximum. So more the distance, less will be the force of attraction. Is that clear? And lesser the distance, more will be the force of attraction. Is it clear? So the intermolecular force of attraction decreases with the increase in the distance between the constituent particles and vice versa. Constituent particles mean the particles with which a particular state of matter is made up of. Constituent means whatever they are composed of, whatever they are made of. Is that clear? And these particles are in a whether it is in solid, liquid or gases, they are in continuous random motion, which is known as Brownian motion. So they are in constant motion, random motion. Random means not in a regular pattern, they're moving here and there. This is known as the Brownian motion. And these particles of matter possess kinetic energy. That means they possess kinetic energy. Kinetic means when they are moving, the energy that is possessed by a particle by virtue of its motion. That means they are moving just because of the presence of this energy, which is known as kinetic energy. Is that clear? They are, I beg your pardon, the particles of matter, just because of the continuous motion or just because of the Brownian motion, they possess kinetic energy. And this kinetic energy increases with the increase in temperature. When we raise the temperature, when we heat a particular solid, then this energy increases, the particles start moving with more speed. That means the Brownian motion increases, and when the temperature decreases, this motion decreases. Is that clear? Next is, how can we explain this on the basis of, how can we explain the state of matter? Various states are there, liquid, solids and gases. 3 states of matter. They are how can we explain them on the basis of kinetic theory? So this we will do in detail in the next session. Please revise it. I have taken a very small part of this chapter, and be regular in your classes. Allah Hafiz.